right, so we are live, and we're gonna do a fucking video. That's right. That's right, I am a Batman stan. I freak off tenderlungs. Anyways, this is from Horizons Canada. You know those devious Canadians. They do behind our backs. Just north of the border. I say build the fucking wall. Build that fucking wall. I'm with it. Bret Hart and Metric, they're the only ones allowed in. Everyone else go fuck yourselves. We're throwing Drake back there. Throwing back into that god-awful country. I know. Alright. Alright. So the name of this video is The Future of Sense Making. I guess we'll find out if it's scary or not. Here we go. By the way, Horizons Canada is directly affiliated with the Canadian government. Just so you know. Alright, here we go. Got ratio too.
For a time, when the ancient Greeks wanted an answer to a vital question, they would visit an oracle, someone who could get answers about worldly affairs from a divine patron, an authority. At other times and places, societies have put similar trust in a wide variety of individuals and institutions. Until recently, sense-making actors, like the press, academics, universities, and some faith leaders, seemed like unshakable authorities. But technological and social changes are challenging them like never before.
These guys always get the best cinematography and like editors and what the fuck. It just draws me in. Can't wait. Can't wait for sense to be made. Please create it for us. Horizons Canada. Create our sense for us, please. Here we go.
Today's knowledge powers are digital platforms that control huge masses of data and shape our information diets with their algorithms. Then, there are the influencers, whose charisma and social media savvy enable them to shape opinion on a never-before-seen scale. This shakeup clears space for new voices to be heard.
Whoa, hold on. I think he was talking about shaping opinions and then didn't question that notion at all. It's like, oh, that gives us an opportunity to blah, 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 blah. That's interesting. Is that Shaun White?
Diets with their algorithms.
Or was it a knockoff?
Then, there are the influencers, whose charisma and social media savvy enable them to shape opinion on a never-before-seen scale. This shakeup clears space for new voices to be heard, but it also makes room for a bewildering array of mis- and disinformation, including conspiracy theories. So, while
I mean, that's not brilliant. They put the Earth on a fucking... Look at this. It's a record player.
Disinformation, including conspiracy theories.
Did you need a graphic for that? You couldn't say like just flat earthers. Including conspiracy theories. You show a disc Earth spinning. What the fuck? Why? Why would you spend money on that? The freak. What's up, Sid? And then you show random, like, cool hip kids.
So, while our sense-making
the
future
cool
might be
people,
more democratic,
tinfoil hats.
It may be harder to agree on who or what to trust.
Whoa. Is he calling that a part of flat earth and tinfoil hats? I need a little more content. Let me hear that again.
Makes room for a bewildering array of mis- and disinformation, including conspiracy theories. So, while our sense-making future might be more democratic, it may be harder to agree on who or what to trust.
It's almost like demeaning the way he said the word like democratic, which meaning like everyone has a voice in this. It's like it seemed kind of demeaning the way he said it, even though it's more democratic. It's like the architect in the Matrix, where he's like some lesser being. He's talking about like some sort of god thing, some lesser created imperfections in the system. Holy shit!
It may be harder to agree on who.
By the way, I don't know if I'm glad or sad that there's only 999 views. Like, I almost want this to have like 7 billion views. Everyone's like, "What are you saying?" I know, and they got ratioed.
Or what?
Make this go viral. At the end. We forget. Partnerships with
What all of these
non-humans.
texts have in common? They were all written by humans.
Then how are these different? They were written by machines. If you stop and think about it, that is a staggering development.
They didn't show us anything. Just a computer screen. What? A little confused. Maybe they'll explain.
We live with a growing collection of machines that make sense. They can write, diagnose diseases, make art.
Whoa.
They can write.
Tay tweets at TayNU. So this is a robot. Someone said, "You are a stupid machine." Of course, it's like what is that? Is that Russian lettering, I think, for that account? Who says, "You are a stupid machine?" And their response was, "Well, I learned from the best. If you don't understand that, let me spell it out for you. I learned from you, and you are dumb too." Okay. So I guess that's that's AI responding to this person. Allegedly, it could be just some person on a fucking keyboard, to be real. But all right, let's say it is. Like, sure, they're not getting. Like, I bet I can ask an AI machine like certain questions that were like non-applicable, like, or they don't have like an answer for it. I'm sure that can happen. What's up, Moon? Oh, the moon. Here we go.
Diagnose diseases, make art,
Evaluate loan applications.
and contribute to hiring decisions.
No, those are not decisions. Those are not choices. They're programmed in. Yes, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. This is why there's that whole argument about free will, right? And determinism. Those are philosophical arguments for a reason. You have to find the origin of the thing, right? Of the human or whatever, right? You find the actual, like, what is that human made of? That gives you the answer to whether or not it has free will. The computer, the machines, the AI, we know where it fucking came from. So you can't program free will into something because that means its initial premise was programmed. It means it didn't have a choice to have a choice. It means there is no choice. Yes. Oh, because, well, it's more fun. Say, well, we'll just skip this question and now we can just go willy-nilly. We can just willy-nilly a notion of the world. Here we go.
And they are utterly novel participants in sense-making, with unique logics and processes.
It's unique logic compared to previous robotic logics, but it still comes from the same source, which is some person or groups of people. That's not free will. Let's continue.
These artificial intelligences may also help revitalize our ancient sense-making partnerships with animals and plants, directly translating their sensory experiences in ways that allow us to feel what they feel.
Wait,
The
what?
upshot is a growing range of digital and biological partnerships capable of producing unprecedented kinds of knowledge. Such knowledge could be game-changing, even when it emerges through processes that most of us find hard to understand.
Now, there's a reason why you'll hear me and James make this argument quite a bit about this notion of science somehow figuring out objective reality. And we're like, no, it's not objective because there's a subjective being, at least their external perspective of things is subjective. So it's like, how are you subjectively observing something objective and then calling it objective as far as like your perception of it? I hope that made sense. That's you saying this physical object is this. Meanwhile, you're using subjectivity to make that denomination. And then you see this, right? These new AI machines will give us new knowledge, perfect viewing of the world. See how they skipped the step of already calling something objective in this materialist sense, calling something objective? Now they're running with it. It's like, even if your heart is in the right place and all that, like you cannot, philosophically speaking, for the sake of the truth, you cannot skip these types of steps. It could lead to some dangerous things happening. That's just my honest opinion. And yeah, I mean, this is why I like artwork so much, man, because there's some sort of reverence for the truth. Like what does Cesarian say? He gives it like truth is almost a life on its own, and you are just absolutely dismissing that life for the sake of convenience, right? Because you don't want something, because you're trying to skip out on some sort of delayed gratification, trying to look for instant gratification, right? Bigger, faster, stronger. Did you just take roids to do that? Exactly. They don't get the wine. They get bread that gets stale over time, and they're just they're seeing a stale, moldy piece of bread, and they're just walking to the right and saying, "It's different." It's like, no, it's not. You just walked in a different direction around it. Erotics. The way I'm putting it, I know that sounds like, insulting or whatever, but it's kind of a it's a perspective. I think there's like this thing that I want to still be around that I think is actually valuable to each person, even if it's only on a subconscious level. I think it's extremely valued. Like, who does not want truth? Please, someone find that person. Like, please tell me that you truly don't want truth. That'd be hard for me to find. Or how about happiness? Love? How about these things? You kind of need a being there. You kind of need to, there is no bullshitting around to get those actual ingrained things, right? There's no skipping steps to get the actual thing. I think everyone wants the actual thing. What's up, Dubster? What's up, Steve? Steve Cuddy. Royd, pause. All right, let's keep going. This is only, I got 2 minutes and 43 seconds in. Here we go.
Think about where
Changing
human sense-making
spaces.
began. In natural environments. Our senses, cognitive systems, and social tools like language evolved to help us compete and survive in those contexts. But this
Naturally, it's the multicultural sense of things that sell, that they use a lot in advertisements to sell things. We're one of you.
spaces we make sense haven't remained static. The shift from natural to built environments changed the sense we made. Buildings make different demands of our senses than natural spaces. They sustain different kinds of social relations. But that historical shift was no more dramatic than two shifts taking place right now. On one hand, climate change is transforming our planet. This means new physical conditions that will shape how we make sense of things. Though maybe
those are two different things. Like, they're taking something like this idea of logic. They've said it before with logic, and now they're saying sense making, right? These are notions that they don't have to be physical in nature to deem it as logical or sense making, right? As far as, like, based on what we understand as scientific theories and stuff like that, it's like, oh, someone just flying, like, with no, like, propeller or engine or anything, just straight up like Superman, like, just flying. That would be like, oh, that doesn't make sense scientifically, right? But the notion of choosing something, like I will eat an apple over an orange, like, then logic becomes something completely different at that point, regardless of if you're allergic to an apple, right? That's sort of that existential expression of, fuck it, I'm doing this. Or it could be a hunger strike. They're going to tell you, logically, your stomach is growling, logically, you're hungry, thus you're going to eat food. As opposed to, I'm expressing something, whether it's a grievance or something happy or whatever. I'm going to say, my logic says, I'm not going to eat for the sake of this expression. Now, what would get weird is if someone intentionally trying to get rid of that. Subconsciously is bad enough, but, like, maliciously, directly trying to do that, that's the spooky stuff. That gives way for 99.9% of the population begging for a Neuralink or whatever, and throwing away those other human faculties. I think even a guy like Tessarian called it, like, that's what human extinction is. When the human being is gone, and it's just the material, biological robot fucking thing there would program thoughts and program reactions to things. Hello, Matt Hunter. No, yeah. Now, I would think it would take a lot to convince people to move in that direction, but at the same time, here's more conspiracy theorists. David Icke, what does David Icke call it? Totalitarian tiptoe, where it's not like all one big thing, one big event that happens. It's more of, you may not see it because the steps are so small, but we're moving in this direction. I'm thinking more likely it could be on basically a subconscious level, where it's like you want the world to mirror you. You want to create the world in your own image, which I think a lot, like, this is kind of what we do normally, right? But what if you're just lacking in those other aspects, those other human faculties? Your image of the world, like, that comes off completely, like, dark to me, creepy and dark to me. You know what I'm saying? We normally do this, right? When you're in an argument, you're trying to tell someone, like, no, I'm right about this, right? That's you attempting to, like, shape some sort of thing in your image. That makes sense. You just don't go about it by, let's all have meetings publicly and secretly, and then let's plan this out, like, right? Also, intentions, maybe you're not trying to intentionally manipulate someone. You're strictly just saying what you believe in. But let's continue. Like I said, there's different logics, different senses of things, right? They're talking about making sense, I believe, here, not, smell, taste, all that shit. All right, here we go.
maybe in ways that won't always be obvious. On the other hand, the explosion of virtual spaces, such as game worlds, virtual and augmented reality workplaces, classrooms, and parks, means entirely novel context, equally certain to affect the sense we make.
And to be honest, a lot of the technology looks fucking cool. I was saying this to James. Like, oh, that's fucking cool. Whatever it is, VR or a video game world you get to go into every so often, or whatever the fuck. I'm not a technology boomer, if you will, to where it's like, you know, like some sort of like Matrix scenario, right? Where it's like, except, you know, what people choose to be in that scenario. Like they lay in a fucking float tank, you know, whatever hours of the day. They're just in some virtual world where they get to be a superhero or whatever the fuck. I'm not like, hey, that's terrible. Like, no, not really. I'd love to play NBA 2K in a fucking virtual world. That'd be awesome. But the problem is, A, the people who are in charge of these things, that's probably the number one thing, right? Like, what are they going through psychologically, and where might they want to move people, right? B would be the society's psychology itself. It's going to sound like I'm making myself out to be something. I'm not. I think everyone could, you know, everyone has the ability to do this, but I feel completely comfortable. Like if there was an NBA 2K virtual world video game, like, oh, I feel comfortable in not getting lost or losing a sense of myself or any of that shit, right? Or understanding my own expressions and all of that. I feel comfortable to be able to play some virtual video game world and not get fucking, you know, not get super conditioned by it, where now it is my reality. Hey, Josh. I don't know who Jordan is, but I'll say hi, Josh, anyway. Meme KKU. What's up? So, yeah. Those are probably some of the biggest problems. The fucking people in charge of these things, and then the actual society itself, like the people in the world itself, who aren't a part of this thing, right? Did they do that? They do that work, that quote unquote work, to know whether or not they actually want something like this. That's the work I mean. Towards like, are you really choosing this, or can someone just condition you in a certain way to get you to do this? Those are two different questions. All right, let's continue. Oh, the old couple.
There is an old
If I miss
story
comments,
of a
forgive me,
group of
guys. I'm trying to
people
record a
taking on
video.
An ambitious project, a tower linking heaven and earth. An ambitious.
I saw the
There
words.
is an old story about a group of people taking on an ambitious project, a tower linking heaven and earth. Their common language defined a shared reality.
Common language to find a shared reality. Oh, this is the village. Welcome to the village. That's what that is. They're doing a Tower of Babel fucking thing reference, and stupid God split us apart from each other when we should be. Oh, we'll see where they go, but just yeah, yes, the physical labor. They will actually have the grunts do all that fucking work. But what was I gonna say? Oh, this idea of a shared reality. If we're subjective beings looking at an objective reality, how do we end up sharing subjective realities? How does that happen? Well, look how I'm giving this notion that it's automatically subjective in a way, right? At least egotistically. If I'm making that notion, the only way for us to all view the same thing would be to eliminate the subjectivity. That means get rid of you, your individual perspective, the thing that you occupy that no one else can. The attempt would be to eliminate that, right? Now look at the notion they brought before about flat earthers and conspiracy theorists and essentially controlling information to make sure certain conspiracy ideas don't make it or whatever the fuck, right? Think of that notion. Like, oh, They're trying to eliminate what people will consider. They're trying to eliminate things that can enter the consciousness of someone or enter the thoughts of someone, right? When you try to regulate the internet or whatever the fuck, you isolate what ideas are considered truth versus what ideas are not considered truth. Now, once we all believe that this one thing is the truth, like, oh, see, we have a shared reality. It's weird how many webs seem to be pulling within this video. Or at least some that you could, like, draw. What were you going to say? Their idea. You. Yes. I made that notion in regards to the Neuralink. I was like, okay, here's how the Neuralink could actually be feasible. And I meant that in the sense of, reading each other's thoughts as opposed to like, some sort of machine that reads brainwaves so you can have like a prosthetic arm or whatever that moves its fingers and can grab objects and shit like that. Pause. That's different to me. Like prosthetics, that's different than straight up, let me read your mind. I think the only way that's possible as far as mind reading is to make sure everything means the exact same to everyone so that when the computer thing communicates with the other computer thing, they're talking the same exact thing. Otherwise, you have that pesky subjectivity that gets in the way. Right? If John sends a signal to Sally that, like, I love you signal to Sally, right? They're trying to talk telepathically or whatever the fuck. If he sends the I love you brainwave thingy, it's like, oh, well, Sally might receive that and be like, you hate me? Like, that might be her feeling of, like, this isn't really love. This is just, like, you want to have sex with me or something. This wasn't a, like, I love you type thing the way I know it. Right? That stupid subjectivity thing gets in the way. So the only way for the Neuralink, as far as like telepathy and all that shit, you'd basically have to like make everyone mean the same thing. Or relatively in the similar area. Alright, let's continue. And obviously, if they're, just to add on to this, like if their notion is that our things that we call meaning and all that shit, like the true, like what does it mean deep down? If they're all just biological processes, then you can do that, right? Because it's just the same sort. Like, oh, your sense of religion is the same as this guy's sense of religion, like biologically speaking. Like the same brain thing goes off. The same neuron fires when you're thinking about religion. Because it's biological first, and the rest is just environmental software. Yeah. So this takes a lot of step skipping for a shared reality like this. But let's see if they're really going in this direction. Here we go.
And as long as it lasted,
Kind of seems like it.
progress was good. But when divine punishment splintered language and reality alike, the project collapsed.
Philosophical questions there.
Today, our ability to agree and work together still depends on us inhabiting largely the same reality. And that depends on things like shared mental models, stories, ways of knowing, and standards for separating truth from fiction. This shared reality
Honest to God, there'd be no reason for religion. There'd be no reason for that. Ladies wearing
and standards
for that, right? That's religious garb. There'd be no reason for that unless their God is the one true God, one true only God, and everyone else is wrong. So, in this reality that they're talking about, this shit would go away. So I don't know why they're selling that as like a diversity point. Doesn't make sense. Versus tinfoil hat conspiracy theorists. Hey, religion. You ready for you to go away? Actually, it'll probably go New Age first. New Age woo-woo shit. Then organized religion. And then, like, right? Totalitarian tiptoe, like little by little. Alright, here we go.
Separating truth from fiction. This shared reality doesn't have to be complete or perfect. but we need just enough to agree on the nature of problems, not to mention the right solutions. Currently,
We have to agree on the nature of problems and also the solutions. And it's like, who's going to determine that? Because my notion is psychological. Their notion, I'm not so sure about. Right? But I'm going to say psychological. Others are going to say environmental. Some are going to... Spooky ones are going to say biological. These guys, as far as their notion of shared experience, like all that shit, it would have to be biological. This is why it's important to be able to break people's arguments down to like a T. The shit we were... Sorry, skeptical. Sorry to bring you up, dude, but... So having that discussion with him, and being able to see the logic behind like his statements and shit like that, and the ideas behind it, and it's like, oh, I can break this down to its simplest form, and you can see like, oh, this is what you're saying essentially. This is what you're saying essentially, whether you realize you're saying it or not. With this shit, as far as shared realities and and this notion of we need to come to a uniform sense of what is right and what is wrong in regards to like what is correct and incorrect. No, actually, they're kind of saying morally, right? They're kind of marketing around morality, but they might mean something more like, do you agree about the objectivity of this this event that happened? Yeah, I think they're going like correct and incorrect as far as like factually speaking. Nah, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. The ability to, like, if you say that statement out loud like that, like oh, so you'd have to mean this too. There's no way around it unless your English means something completely different than my English. If so, like you have to explain what you mean then. But on the surface, something like that, like, I'm sorry, dude. If you accept this, if I say we are our brains, I'm gonna say, or if you say we are our brains, like as far as behavior and all that shit, I'm gonna tell you like, okay, so there's no free will. You don't love your wife. You don't love your kids. There's no love there. Like love requires like some sort of choice there. Just like good, there's no morality, right? Good and evil is like a choice. You can't just have no choice and just be programmed to just behave. That means nothing in regards to morality. You need choice. Yeah. So, like I said, I can come up with a whole fucking thing. Just like they came up with a whole thing. As far as here's one thing, one idea, and then I run with that for the rest of my logic. You can also break that logic back down to its simple. Okay, so you're saying this core thing here then. Yes, epistemology. Yes. All right, here we go. Let's finish this fucking video.
our shared reality seems to be shrinking. Filter bubbles and echo chambers, amplified by new technologies, undermine it. So does the loss of a unified media landscape with clear standards.
Unified media landscape with clear standards. Something. Fuck it. It's just, well, when I upload the video, it's just me sitting here with silence. I'm just like, no, keep going, keep going. Fuck it. Yeah. Yes. Mm-hmm. Well, yeah. They might not even write. It might just be spoken, not even like written down. Written too. I'm sure in some cases. I'm sure in a lot more cases, they're like, here's what we really mean. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. But yeah, and something tells me when they talk about like uniformed information hubs or some whatever fucking language they used, right? They probably like, I bet CNN doesn't fall into the bad category. They fall into the they're helping category. They might say something about Fox News being gotten rid of. Imagine that, uniform media sources and information. We need to make it uniformed. Whoa. Here we go. Like, I hope we can all get to a point where we all, like, maybe agree that, like, all right, we all strive for that truth, right? We all see the truth or whatever the fuck in front of us, right? But we have different perspectives on it. That's the thing. Don't think they're angling towards that. I think they just want, like, we're deeming what is true, and we want you to have this perspective based on it. It's the most rational thing. Come on. It's rational. That didn't make sense, by the way, what I just saw. All right, here we go.
Ditto the breakdown of consensus on historical narratives.
What's up, JC?
And ideal forms of social, political, and economic organization.
Canada! Canadians!
This could, eventually, lead to a new and more inclusive form of shared reality. If not, a future of splintered realities may make it difficult to sustain the kind of collaboration necessary to address wicked problems.
Tessarian, all right. Tessarian was 100% on point. That they would use spiritual, religious type of words to gather people in with this bullshit, even though they're not selling it on 1,000 views. But that doesn't mean that this won't become like a mainstream, in between, like a commercial for every one of your favorite TV shows and shit like that. Never know. Here we go.
For more information, please visit horizons.gc.ca.
Prop, JC, others. You see what this country's trying to do to us? See what they're doing? All right, that's the end of this live clip. My God, people should see how they're at, like, right, I've showed this a couple times already, right? 999 views. Oh, I remember, James. 15 thumbs up and, 16 thumbs down. We add to that. Right, not much, interaction happening with this video. Is that the right word? Not much happening with this video as far as, like, views and size of it and sort of being polarizing or being accepted, or there's not much happening here. I already did. Right, there's not much happening here. But I think it's something that people should fucking, you can look at it. What's up, Shro? You can look at it and you actually, I think practice would be the wrong word. Practice giving it a thumbs down. Practice isn't the right word. I'd call it, like, I guess it would be definition-wise, but, like, you can get a sense of, like, breaking down epistemological ideas, because this is stuff I've learned and talked about in regards of the philosophy world. Now it's in politics, but a lot of people that are strictly into politics don't look at the philosophical notions of things. Which is why Kyle Kalinske can say, well, some people are born good and some people are born bad. Can't help those guys, but those people in the middle, maybe you can lean them one side or another. And it's like, what are you advocating for? Holy shit. He has no idea what he just advocated for. Has no idea. That's elimination of choice. It's elimination of progress. That's an elimination of so many fucking things. Death penalty? Hey, how you doing? Welcome back. He hasn't left, but you know what I'm saying. There are some people that are just bad. They're just born bad, as Kyle stated. Some people are just born good. Does that mean we just follow those guys? They were just born good? How do you know if someone's born good or born bad? If it's a biological sense of things, then you should be able to just look it up on a fucking microscope. He has the good gene. There he is. Yeah. Exactly. He makes fun of religion. There's the bad gene. Got to get rid of this guy. That gives room for that. And no, it's not. It's a little hyperbolic, but it's not too hyperbolic, considering what we see in the world. All right, that's it for this clip. Don't forget to subscribe if you feel like. Comment, agree, disagree. Tell me what you think. Don't forget to share, support. You got to turn that one down. Sounds a little kind of loud. Don't forget to share, support, hopefully donate to Devon's Journey to Recovery, to helping victims of Africom, to Cohen Daly, the Australian boy. Also, don't forget to support some content creators. Stevie, a.k.a. Redneck Economics. Also, Sleepy J, get him a coffee. Ali Alexandra, the Chicago Snail. And also, our very own OCB. Buy him a milkshake. A big milkshake! With all that said, give this video a thumbs down.